Hello and welcome to the 60 Minutes podcast, Extra Minutes. I'm Amelia Adams and I'm joined today by Adam Hegarty, who's done a very interesting story on weight loss drugs.
Yes.
Adam, Ozempic is something that I think everyone's very aware of. We're all talking about. It's revolutionised weight loss for adults around the world.
Yeah.
But what I didn't know is that it can be prescribed and is being prescribed for kids and teenagers.
Didn't know that either. Shocked me when
Yeah.
that story landed on my desk. I went, seriously? Kids, Ozempic?
Right. So what's the age, and to be prescribed, what sort of category do you have to fit?
Yeah, well, it's changed a lot, and that's why more and more kids are taking it. So the TGA has approved, in particular, Wegovy, which is effectively Ozempic from that school of drugs for 12 to 18-year-olds. So as young as 12, if you believe that. And initially, we know, obviously, these drugs were discovered for weight loss because they were used for treatment of type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
It's really gone beyond that now. So for 12 to 18-year-olds, that drug's available purely for weight loss. It still costs a bit, so it's not on the PBS, but the TGA has approved it. That alone surprised me.
Massive.
But you hear these stories, kind of convinces you. It's very compelling.
So you have to be classified as obese as a child
You do.
to qualify?
Yeah,
Okay.
indeed. But it's really coming down to the doctors and specialists. So
Right.
they're really, at the moment, weighing up the risks. So if you, and this is the situation that's been explained to me, if they have someone who comes into them, be it 13, 14 or 15, they've tried everything for their weight, they've got mental health issues, they may have some other issues as for instance, PCOS and other hormone issues, they look at it as a whole and then they go, you know what, Ozempic might help you with all of those issues and the weight loss can be a handy byproduct. But then what we're seeing now is that such a profound impact on these kids when they lose that weight, young teenage girls especially. They're skinny for the first time and then they go back on it for that reason, and doctors are doing that.
Well, tell me about that, because you've met some really interesting young people in this story, and I'm fascinated by how it has changed their lives.
Completely. Absolutely transformed their lives, and they're the words they use. And I spoke to one girl, Addie Moffat, and this is the one that really got to me. So at 14, she went on Ozempic for a range of reasons, like I just mentioned. But what truly transformed her life, as well as fixing those other issues, was the weight loss.
Okay.
So for 2 years there, she was on it. She was happy. There's videos in our story of her on TikTok, and it's lovely to see.
Yeah.
Really happy, dancing, just living the life a teenager should live. But completely at odds with the girl that sat in front of me. She sat there with her mum, Beck, and she was in tears. And then you ask these girls, you realise, I'm a dinosaur, but you don't, your weight shouldn't matter. You can be happy, but that doesn't matter to these kids
So
because
is
it's such
she
a
in
massive...
tears because she's off it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it's all the weights come back,
Okay.
and that's what happens with these drugs, right? So you're on it. It's the only thing that ever works for you.
Yeah.
And then you go off
You have
it,
to go
and
off it.
naturally, on doctor's orders, the weight comes back, and now she's just desperate to go back on it because she wants to be happy again. I mean, how do you argue with that? It's really difficult.
Do you know, I'm a bit torn on this story, because having been a teenage girl, like 16 especially, that is just the crux of self-esteem issues, body image issues. To hear you say that she was like, I'm happy because I'm thin.
Yeah.
That sort of became her identity.
Exactly.
And then when the weight comes back on, it's like she loses that life, right? That sparkle in her eye.
Absolutely. And her mum described it as it's just heartbreaking to watch, especially when you have a taste of a life you always wanted and never thought you'd attain. And now just to watch, and this is a girl that's active. And the big message from Addie, and as well as her mum Beck, is to the naysayers who might say, eat less and exercise more and all these things.
Have you tried everything else
Exactly.
first? And
And-
clearly she had.
Correct. This is a girl who plays netball on the weekends. Like, we're out watching that. And she's active, eats healthy.
Eats well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, everyone has a genetic disposition to something. And sadly for Addie, it's struggles with her weight.
So there are some people who just don't respond to the normal advice to lose
Well,
weight.
exactly right. And the way it's described by experts that we've spoken to as well, we deal with a lot of chemical imbalances in our body with drugs anyway. And they think there really needs to be a bit of a rethink with obesity in this country to recognise it more like that. So what drugs like Ozempic do, and this fascinated me too because I didn't really admittedly understand how the drug worked, but it targets the brain. It targets signals in the brain. So then for that reason, it changes appetite, it changes cravings. So, and this was me initially. I looked at that and go, well, maybe you could use willpower. It's not like it's burning fat per se.
Is this
right?
the lazy option? That's
Exactly.
the stigma associated with it.
And
right?
Addie and Beck have heard exactly that.
Yeah.
So it does reduce appetite. It stops you eating. But I can sit here as, someone who hasn't dealt with that as a teenager, and I can go and have a junk meal when I was that age, and it wouldn't affect me the same way it affects kids like Addie. They step one foot out of line and then it doesn't work for them. So that was the really compelling thing for me, that this is something that can change a chemical imbalance, which is nobody's fault, and really give them the life that they really want to live. There are side effects and there are long-term implications potentially. We just don't know.
So tell me about some of the side effects, because I've got adult friends who have used or are using Ozempic, and some of them have described to me like they can't drink alcohol, so that's not obviously going to affect kids and teenagers.
Yeah, exactly.
Shocking side effect for adults. But like serious nausea, vomiting, dizziness. I mean, it actually sounds pretty grueling.
Those are the two. I mean, Addie, the young girl, had to take days off school because the
right.
vomiting and nausea was so bad. They're the minor ones.
Yeah.
And you talk to experts, they say, look, for the right people, where the benefits outweigh the risks, you can tolerate a bit of nausea and vomiting. What I got out of that, though, it's unfortunate because I look at Addie and another young girl we spoke to in Colorado, where they tend to, I noticed, glaze over the impact and how debilitating those side effects were.
Yeah.
Because of the profound benefit of losing that weight.
Yes.
They're prepared to tolerate anything. I mean, she took days off school. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, and I guess when you're that age too, it's not only, for these girls saying, I'm thin, so I'm happy. It's not the way they look. It's actually the way they feel. They can move. They can be active. They've got in your words, a life that they hadn't experienced.
They're better at school. They're better with their friends. They make new friends.
More confident.
Exactly. It just has this really lovely domino effect when you have good self-esteem as a teenager. School's hard enough as it is.
That's so hard.
Particularly now with social media. Can you imagine being at school with social media?
Oh, no,
it
thanks.
is awful.
Yeah.
So, and when I ask these girls these questions, I mean, why does your weight have such an impact on you? They immediately say, well, social media, I'm expected to be thin. So they got that moment and they were happy for the only time in their life. So it's hard to sit in front of them and go, well, hang on, you're too young for drugs. You're too young for Ozempic. You don't know what is happening to your body long term. And why would you take days off school and going through, the nausea and vomiting? I asked them point blank, I say, why was that worth it? And they said, I'm happy. How do you argue with that?
Yeah,
It's so difficult.
I think this story is going to touch a nerve. You're going to have parents all around the country in heated debate.
Absolutely.
Because there'll be parents watching
very nicely.
saying, I would never, and judging if I'm honest. I would never put my child on a weight loss jab. That's terrible.
Yeah.
And other parents saying, you know what, if nothing else works, let's give it a try, because they are living with a child who's desperately unhappy and unhealthy.
Yeah.
What do the experts say? What do the doctors say that you've spoken to?
Well, this is the really interesting thing. They're surprisingly candid. We've spoken to quite a few researchers, doctors. They don't know. They don't know what the long-term effects could be. I mean, it's a crystal ball because the research isn't there. How do you research something that's only been around for as long as Ozempic has been?
Yeah.
And they don't know the impact in kids 10, 20 years down the track. But they say, look, for someone who's struggling with their mental health, who, if they stay overweight, it could lead to type 2 diabetes and all these other health problems, they just have to weigh it up, and they say, physicians just need to go, what's going to be the riskier thing, going on it or not going on it?
It's scary,
Genuinely.
isn't it? Because
Yeah,
you can't
really
look at
is.
studies and say, look, in 15 years, Addie, if I put you back on this and you continue taking, because you want to lose the weight again, in 15 years you may have, what are some of the risks? Organ damage, or, I don't know. They don't know.
Yeah, muscle loss, bone loss,
Right.
organ damage, fertility, all of these things are being suggested. There's no proof either way. I mean, there's a bit of proof with muscle loss, but that's on the minor end of the scale. So it could be anything like all drugs. I mean, I'm pretty lucky. I'm a guy. The pill, like a lot has been learned about that years and years down the track.
Well,
this could be similar.
This is the thing. We're entering into a deep ethical debate for the Extra Minutes
We are
podcast.
indeed.
But we went through, as a society, we've gone through this with
And this will happen
Botox,
again.
vaccines, things that we haven't been able to study long enough before we inject them into our bodies and go, at what point do we take the risk and weigh up, as you say, the benefits versus the detriments.
Yeah, and one of the doctors we spoke to was a bit more specific about it. They say, look, I'm pretty comfortable with maybe 2 to 3 years max, where we've got enough data to suggest there won't be any really severe long-term impacts if someone's on it from, say, 18 to 2021.
Right.
Then they go, could we, and this is where the research is going a little bit at the moment, could we wean them off it and then enough changes have been happening in their bodies that the weight maybe doesn't come back?
So this was my next question. Like, is there the chance that you've actually shifted something chemically?
Yeah, I asked that very question, and you know what the response was, Amelia?
Don't know.
Don't know.
Oh, no.
Exactly.
So interesting.
But I hope so.
Yeah.
For people like Addie and Sophie, the other girl we spoke to, gee, I hope so, because that would be the perfect result.
And I guess these girls and boys as well, these teens, I hate to use the word guinea pigs, but they're
I use the word guinea pigs.
You do, okay,
good.
They're test cases. Like, they will be the data that parents look at in 20 years and go, oh, well, when they started doing this all the way back in 2025.
Exactly. Yeah.
So in a way, they're kind of pioneers for these drugs.
They are, and they're prepared to be because of the absolute elation that comes with being thin and happy.
That's a big weight to carry, pardon the pun.
It is. It is absolutely. But experts say, look, it's something that we just won't know until we know. And in the meantime, I should point out, any parents who are seriously considering this, the one take-home message we've gotten from experts is, as long as they maintain exercise and diet, which is really important.
Yeah, so you're not just relying on the drug.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they say that for adults as well, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
So where are your case studies at now? Like, how are they in terms of their health and their weight and their happiness as this story goes to air?
Absolutely. Almost polar opposites at the minute, because for poor Addie, she went off Ozempic for about 6 months, and she's now just recently gone on it. So she's lost about 7 kilos in her second round on the drug. So
she lost the weight, gained the weight,
came back,
and she's losing again.
She's going back on it. So she's still pretty devastated that she wasn't what she was a couple of years back, or 6 months ago.
Yeah.
You speak to Sophie, and she's just basically a mascot for this drug. She was part of the trial. It was the only thing that worked for her. She says
she's so
her
happy.
life just could not be any better. The before and after photo is extraordinary, but just talking to her, she's just this confident, striking 18-year-old because she's happy with herself.
And do these girls and boys, I should say teens, have to go through, in conjunction with it, the physical stuff? Do they have to have some sort of, this is coming from someone who, as I said, was a teenage girl and had all the food issues and body image issues that we all have. Do they have some sort of psych evaluation or psychiatric or psychological kind of guidance along with the physical jam?
They don't. I'm no doubt it's suggested, but it's all cost. I mean, so the drugs are subsidised for things like type 2 diabetes, and the difference there is, well, $7 a script compared to $260 a script for just weight loss, So parents have heaps to grapple with. The cost of that, going without other stuff for the sake of their kids being happy, you would have to go to a psychologist to talk through it, and that's probably money out of their pocket as well. So
and most parents, they will do anything for their children, especially if they're miserably unhappy.
You just want your kids
unhealthy.
to be happy. And as it was described to me by Beck, Addie's mum, as a mother, she'll do absolutely anything as long as her kid's happy. That's all that's important. And a crystal ball of, what could possibly happen down the track. What matters is now. An 18-year-old crying.
Yeah. You're trying to get them through every day, basically, in the best way that you can.
Absolutely.
I think this story is just going to bring up all sorts of discussions. You have all the school mums
that's right.
yelling at you.
I know. I'll just go to ground for a couple of days.
Absolutely fascinating. Adam, thank you so much. And if you have missed Adam's story, it is well worth a watch. You can catch up on 9 Now or on our 60 Minutes YouTube channel.